it is now time that we are going to go and jump onto the grand finale with our final story. And I would like to know, Tariq, do you play video games? Like, are you a gamer yourself?
I used to be when I was a kid, but kind of like I want to say I grew out of it because that's not the case at all. But I kind of did just kind of stop. I really heavy though.
All right, but like at least you know the basics of like video gaming and what we need and stuff like that. Like we need a controller and we need a screen and all that kind of stuff. But just wondering, like like if you would go back to playing video games and stuff, would the size of the screen matter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so it does matter, but you hopefully you don't mind playing on a 1-inch screen. Like, can you handle that?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't know. 1 inch? No, no way.
Well, apparently it is going to happen. There will be a console with that, and that is the Game Gear Micro. Yes, Sega has announced that in honor of the 60th anniversary, they are going to be releasing a special edition of their classic handheld console, the Game Gear, called the Game Gear Micro, which is a pocket-sized version of their old console. And with it, now they didn't necessarily put up any specifics in terms of like the size and stuff like that for the Game Gear Micro, except for the screen, in which they stated it is going to be just an inch. Well, only a 1-inch screen, and apparently will come in 4 different colors, in which they each will have 4 different games. And before I get into the games, let me just go on Sega's official Japanese website, and there is this hand here that should give you a little bit of an example. Like, see how the index finger and the thumb is holding on to that little Game Gear Micro? Like, it's supposed to be this big. So imagine a console of this size. So anyways, going back to and if you guys are only listening to this, basically how I'm holding it, it looks like it's just going to be 2 inches tall so far, and probably 4 inches wide. So it's going to be a ridiculously tiny thing. But going back into the games, what they have, like I said, they have 4 different colors with 4 different games each that are included in there. The black one will have Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone. The blue one will have Sonic and Tails, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tales, and Baku Baku Animal. Yellow will have Shining Force 1, Shining Force 2, Shining Force Gaiden, Final Conflict, and Nazuo Poyo Are no Drorux. And the red one will have Revelations, the Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi, and Columns. They have also added that if you would go and buy all 4 of these consoles, then you would go and get a special accessory called the Sega Big Window, which will magnify the screen to be just a little bit bigger, but you have to go and buy all 4 of them. The price on the Game Gear Micro is going to be 4,980 yen each, which is 40 pounds or $50. And it will be coming out so far exclusively to Japan on October 6th. So, even though it's been a while since you've been gaming, Tariq, do you think you want to go back to it with the Game Gear Micro?
Ah man, that doesn't sound like a good that doesn't sound like a good reintroduction. Why is it so small? Like what? Oh,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's stupidly tiny. And at this point, I just would like to go and point out that a lot of people, of course, are going to bring up the Game Boy Micro, which was from the late 2000s that Nintendo did release. And
Oh my God, that happened, didn't it?
yeah, that was a thing. And I just want to point out, though, that I actually do have the Game Boy Micro with me. I actually did use it when I was a kid. I actually went and bought it. And honestly, I really liked it. Like, this is honestly one of, if not my favorite version of the Game Boy Advance. And if you want to know, in terms of the screen size, it's actually twice as big. I actually measured firsthand with a ruler that it is 2 inches at least in terms of like screen size, and even in terms of the width. It is I measured, it was 1 3/4 inches, which is honestly not that bad. And yes, it is actually playable. Like, you can actually see it. And considering that it is, it is a Game Boy Advance, which is like a 32-bit console, I believe. Like, so far, like, it actually shows a lot of the graphics very well. It actually works out. It's a really good console that actually does work, and you can actually see what you're playing. And even like when you're holding it, it is actually very comfortable. It like the buttons are a good size, and it actually works. Like, as a console, it's very nice and it's very convenient in terms of its size. So imagine, like, you take the Game Boy Micro, you have to shrink the screen, like, you gotta make the screen half the size and make the buttons even smaller. And even looking at the buttons, I gotta say, like, if you do look at the comparison and stuff like that, the two side buttons, they look like the size of the regular thumb. Like, how are you even supposed to press the buttons on this thing?
Yeah, man. It's nuts.
And you know the irony of it, what I find to be the craziest thing and the dumbest thing is that in order to make it playable, you gotta buy all of it. Like, you gotta spend the average price of a console. Like, you gotta spend $200, and then you gotta get this so that you can actually go and get an accessory where you can actually see what you are playing. Like, how are you supposed to play Sonic the Hedgehog in a 1-inch screen? How are you even supposed to see anything? Like, that's my biggest question. How are you even supposed to
It
see?
looks like a joke. Like, it looks like some kind of like weird joke. It looks like a some kind of satirical thing that they would do on like The Simpsons or Family Guy or something like that. Like, just even like looking at the image of like the person with it in their hand, it's like so small. And the fact that, like, yeah, you gotta go out and you gotta buy all of these, they kind of get you and like make your odds perk a little bit by saying like, oh, it's $50, but like, yeah, each is like it's like other ones that you got to do too.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I get it that they want to try to upgrade the whole situation. Yeah, and I even have a picture here, like, yeah, this is what it looks like trying to, like, when someone is trying to hold it, and like, oh my god, it looks like the person is struggling. It's like, literally, you got to be so gentle with it, and like the thumb is dominating all the buttons everywhere. It's like, how do you even play on this? It would seem like a joke, but then again, like, what I'm guessing is that this is probably just meant exclusively as a collector's item. Like, yeah, it has the convenience of playing video games, but can you legitimately play anything on this? Like, is it even possible?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I agree with you. It has to be like a collector's thing because like that's not buy a kid that, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna lose it. It's so easy.
Oh,
Like,
oh my god, yeah. It's
setting yourself up for failure to get that for your kid.
Yeah, oh my god. You know the sad thing is that considering its size and stuff like that, this is like one of those things that you could lose in the sewers. Like, you're going to be like
Yeah.
on top of a manhole and stuff, and it will go down between the cracks. It looks like it's one of those things that can be possible to do so. So like
Definitely, you can put it in your pocket and you can sit down wrong and it can fall out of your pocket. Like, it is one of those things.
Yeah, it's more inconvenient than it is. Like, I understand the market of like mini things. So, like, especially in Japan, that's actually a pretty popular trend of like buying stuff that are like smaller than the average size. But honestly, like, with a working console, it seems unusual. But also, if I would have to state like a reason why I wouldn't necessarily be too keen on getting it, would be regarding the games, because so far there really isn't a whole lot that's interesting that has piqued my interest so much. Like, I'm not gonna go and immediately go and buy all 4 different versions. Like, maybe I'll, like, if I would have to buy it, maybe I would go with the black one to have regular Sonic the Hedgehog, or maybe the blue one to try out Sonic and Tails to see what that is all about. But other than that, like, honestly, in terms of the games, are they even worth getting it? Like, if you look at it as a console.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't.
don't know. It's like I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's kind of it does kind of akin back to like what we were talking about with like um HBO Max. It's just kind of like and all the other streaming services. It's kind of like what am I getting into this for? Like I'm gonna pay like $200 for like this thing that I could easily lose. It's like I have to be doing it for a good reason. It has to be something attached to it that I'm going to it for.
Hmm. I don't know, and especially with the gimmick of like, you know the whole gimmick with the whole big window thing is that yeah, there's not going to be much of a point because technically in the age of eBay, it's easier to get it without actually going through the whole process of spending $200 on all four of these consoles. You could just buy one thing and that's it. But then again, in its defense, like it is exclusively to Japan and they are selecting content that is more appealing to Japan than it is in like North America, for example. Like if this would ever come to North America, then they would put in more American appealing games. You know, they would put in stuff like I don't know. Well, honestly, it is the Game Gear. Actually, I don't know what popular games there would be on the Game Gear because I know that they did release a mini version of Sega Genesis, and that actually went very well. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people,
that did. Yeah,
yeah,
I
like
think I know some people with it.
yeah, like apparently it was very good. Like some people would go as far and say that it's the best retro mini console that has been released, like up there with some of Nintendo's stuff, like the like with the NES Mini or the SNES Mini. Like so, like I do get what they're trying to do, and I do understand like why they want to enter into this market. But when it comes to the Game Gear Micro, it's just like honestly, it's such a weird oddity in terms of video games that it's like it's one of those but why though moments. It's like you make it's like yeah, I get it. You want to make it small, but do you have to make it that small? I like to see my games when I play. I think it's kind of an integral part of gaming.
Yeah, definitely. It's the most important part. I got to be able to enjoy the experience without like squinting my eyes or like
Yeah,
if I'm like pressing the right thing or something.
yeah, and honestly, like when this was announced, I've seen on social media people sharing two popular memes regarding this. Like, of course, number one is that the first comment people would make about this is the Zoolander one, where they would go like, "What the heck is this? A handheld for ants?" But one that I used actually, it was the Ken Jong one when he held that little piece of paper and like he's squinting real hard to understand like what's going on. Like he's just looking at it
Yeah.
like, what? Like honestly,
What
like
is
is this
that?
is this the future of gaming that Sega wants us to do? We need to squint in order to play our games to see closely.
That's what it seems like. I don't really get the I don't get the and it's not even like they didn't even try to do anything cute with it and like put like a little keychain on the end of it or something. Like something that warrants that size.
Yeah, that is actually true. That would actually be a good idea for it. Like this should have been something that like should actually have a keychain. Like that it seems like with that kind of size, like I know technically some could say it's a little bulky for a keychain, but I mean with that kind of size, like even though it will be pretty big for your keys, like it would be pretty cool to have like a working console attached to your key set. Like that would actually be something that would work. That would have actually worked. Like just like just make it a keychain accessory where like if you're bored, then you could take out your keys and just play the games. Like
Yeah.
that would be a pretty solid idea for it.
It would definitely like put the cases of people losing it in half. I guess if you lose it like that, then you lost your keys. If you lost your keys, then
That's
it's all downhill from there.
yeah, and that's why it makes it important. That's why you got to keep it if you want to keep your like. And that's the thing. It's like yeah, it's a little bulky for a keychain, but at least it makes it easy. In a way, it ironically makes it easier to look for your keys, so that you could just like okay, where's that little Game Gear? Oh, there it is. There's my keys. I can go into my car now.
How does like volume work on something like that? Like, is it gonna be like as loud as like a normal handheld, or is it gonna sound like a mouse? It's so small. There's
Uh,
so many questions just from looking at it.
well, I mean, like there is like there's a little area for the audio, and I guess yeah, it does have volume, but it does have a phone jack. Oh, and I actually do. Oh my god, actually, I have found the measurements actually. Hold on a sec. Like the measurements of the console itself. Let me bring out my ruler. Okay, so apparently it says that the console itself is going to be 80 millimeters by 43 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So that's about so 80 millimeters is a little over 3 inches. So that's the width of it. 43 millimeters. So just to check that, it's 1 and 3/4 inch. So that's how tall it's going to be,
Oh my
and
God.
how wide it's going to be is 20 millimeters. So that's just 3/4 of an inch.
Oh my God. It's so small.
Yeah, and I mean, like even my Game Boy Micro, like it's 4 inches wide. Like wow, it's much smaller than the Game Boy Micro.
I
Like
was
now,
looking at pictures of the Game Boy Micro, and like, yeah, they made it big enough at least, like, because those cartridges aren't really that small, so like that helps them, and
hmm
like you can show that it had to be a little bigger than something like this.
yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like at least they made it it's small, but they made it at a comfortable size that you can actually see what you're doing. This, however, oh my god, like honestly, this is making me appreciate more and more and more of the Game Boy Micro. I'll say this right now, the Game Boy Micro is an underrated console from Nintendo because it could have been worse. It could have been the freaking Game Gear Micro.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's honestly ridiculous. Okay, so I would like to go into the chat wall and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think of the Game Gear Micro? If it ever is available in your country, would you go and buy it? What are your thoughts on it? Do you think your hands are small enough to actually play the thing? And are your eyes like supernatural that you can actually see something microscopic? Let me know what you think. Let's see now. Um, I'll go with this one. I'm really not interested. This seems like something that would be a choking hazard, and I feel like it's something you could lose easily.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought I would see someone describe that about a gaming console, that it could be a choking hazard. That is
It just
something
shows
new.
you how like where we are right now. Like that shouldn't be a concern.
Yeah, really. While I think the idea is interesting, the execution is a bit messy, and I would not mind seeing the angry video game nerd do a video on this in the future just to see his reaction. That would be interesting, actually. That would be something James Rolfe should consider on trying to check out. It will be much later, like in October, but still, that is a great idea. Actually, that would make a pretty good episode. Let's see. I'll be pleased if Game Gear Micro would be nice if it's compared to the Game Boy Micro and its cartridge. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. And plus the fact that, may I point out that you're not going to be playing any of your like older Game Gear stuff. Like it's only the 4 games and that's it. At least with the with the Game Boy Micro, you can actually like switch on the games. It is a legitimate console, so there is that. Let's see. May I also bring up the fact that these things cost $50 each, and if you want the accessory that magnifies the screen while you play, you have to buy all 4. Yep, that's the thing. It's $50 each, and if you want to actually see what you're playing, it's $200. And you get this thing. And even at that, like, even if it does magnify, like, does it even magnify that much? Like, would it even be a sizable thing to play? I don't know. I really
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know.
Like, would it even work? And especially, also, may I add, would it be too much in the way of your hands when pressing the buttons? Hopefully, like they would think that, of course, but I don't know. It's just like it looks like something that would just be like in the way, like when you're playing your little thing. Let's see. This would be a great idea if it was 2 times bigger, and some of the Watch Mojo top 10 Game Gear games on it had for a lit screen like the Game Boy Advance SP. Then this could work in the USA. Also, Sega is also doing a cloud gaming service for arcade cabinets called Fog Gaming. Well, that is another. Oh, that does sound interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully, that's not too expensive. I never heard of this console, but wow, they look small. Although I wouldn't be interested in getting it since I'm not a Sega or a Sonic fan. But even if I were, I wouldn't get it either due to how small it is. Sorry, but I'm giving it a skip. All right. Well, lucky you that it's only in Japan. All right. I'll go and read one more comment. Okay, this is just, well, wouldn't it cause a bit of health issues, especially since the screen is so tiny? I once had a headache when I was playing on Nintendo 3DS, but with bigger consoles like PS3 and PS4, I play them for hours, with no health issues, and you could see a variety of details on those screens. But I will admit, I did own something similar as a kid. McDonald's once had Sonic handheld LCD games from a Happy Meal. They were addictive, but also headache inducing. Oh my god, do you remember those things?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I
I think
remember.
so.
Yeah, I remember when they used to sell those, and oh my god, I think it's really the noise that got to me that kind of put me off on those games. Like they are very simple, but still, like the game, the sounds that they make, it's oh my god, it's nothing but
Yeah.
screeching. It's nothing but
Yeah.
screeching.
It's design was in a different place back then for sure.
Oh yeah.